In this lesson, I'm going to be completing the base plate in AutoCAD. So first thing I want to do is take a look at this object and see what's available. So the first thing that I see is that this is essentially a rectangle with circles, and two of these are concentric circles. So what I'm going to do then is go ahead and start on this, make this 0, 0 on my left. I don't really know what this angle is. It looks like it's 60 degrees. I could figure it out, but there really is no need here. So once I have AutoCAD open, I'm going to go ahead and go to the menu above the ribbon and make sure that I'm in the 2D or the drafting and annotation. And you do that in the icon below. And so we're going to be working in 2D and annotation. The other thing I want to do is make sure that I have my settings here with my snap settings done before I start. I don't want to do this on a snap, but I do want to have my puller on, and I'm doing it at 90-degree increments. You can change it, but I just default to 90. And then my object snap, I usually have the midpoint on there and the intersection. These are not defaults. And then over here in the object snap, you also see what I do here. And I'll go ahead and say OK. So let's go ahead and again look at the exercise that we're doing here. And I'm going to essentially start at 0, 0, and I'll go up on the y-axis 4 inches, and then on the x-axis positive 4.2. So let's go ahead and do that. And so let's go ahead and take our line. And so I'll just move this to the side while I do this for reference. And so let's go ahead and hit the line tool. Here's my command line. I'll just go ahead and type in 0, 0, enter. All right, let's try that again. Command line 0, 0, enter. And you'll see, now if you don't know where it is, you can just scroll in and out until you find it. And I'll point up on the y-axis, and I'll go ahead and type in 4 and push enter. Then what I want to do is move my mouse to the positive on the x-axis or to the right, and I'll go ahead and type in 4.25. All right, and then I can either right-click and say enter or hit escape on my keyboard. So I'll do that. Now, I want to verify this before I go along. Now, I can always look at my command line and drag it up, and I can say, okay, 0, 0, and there's my points here, but it's probably better here because I have to dimension this anyway, just to verify it with my dimensions. So what I'll do here is I'll go to the dimension, and so it defaults to the linear, and so I'll go ahead and select my 0, 0. Now I'm going to actually carefully make sure I'm on the point here. Let's move to the right, and then the same thing on the top. All right, and I'll move that above. Now, the only thing is you're going to notice the precision or the tolerance is a little off. I can do it later, but it might be easier to show it to you now. So what I'll do then is I'll make sure that on the menu bar above the ribbon, I want to make sure that I'm showing the menu bar. And I'll go to Format, and I'll hit Dimension Style. And then I'll go ahead and go to Modify. And so I want to match this precision, which was the tenths and the hundredths. So I'll go here to my primary units, and I'll change the precision to match. All right, you can see it does a little preview. I'll say OK, and I'll close. And so there it's matched up. So that way I don't have to go through later. I'll deal with the line weights later. The line weights, though, essentially are on the properties. You right click and you make sure your properties open, and then you'll go to the line weight, and I usually default to 0.50 because it shows up when I plot. And so I'll do that. Now you'll notice though that it doesn't really appear until I confirm that on the bar below. I want to make sure my line weight is there, and then I'll just turn that on. Now, most people don't want to have that when they're working because it can get in the way. So I'll just turn that off for now, and then I can go back and undo them all at once. All right, so let's continue this drawing. And so I'm going to move on this x-axis. I'm going to move over 5.5 inches, and then I'm going to move up on the y 2 inches. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I could just try to snap on there, but honestly, if I do that, I risk missing it and not realizing it. So I'll type in 0, 0, enter. I'll move my mouse to the right on the x-axis, and I'll type in 5.5, enter, and then I'll point my mouse up, and I'll type in 2 and press enter. Now, let's just go ahead and finish this off. I'll close that and I'll go ahead and push enter. Now, I need to verify that first, right? So it looks okay, but we really don't know till we measure this, all right? So if you ever do get lost in here, something you can do is just on this view cube, you select the view cube, and then you just hit top, and that'll recenter everything. So let's go ahead, and I can also take the pan tool here, and I can move it around, so I'll do that. And let's go ahead and dimension this just to verify it. So again, let's verify this. And I can scroll in and out if I need to. Dimension, same thing. Move this out. And so one thing to notice about dimensions is the larger dimensions are always on the outside. So notice that the 4.2 is on the top, and these other dimensions are held within. All right, so that looks good. Dimensions look fine, but now I want to go ahead and put these circles in. So let's go ahead and start with the one that's on the top left. I've got on the x-axis it's 1, and on the y it's 2.5. So let's go ahead and go to my circle tool, and you'll also notice that it's giving us the diameter. I could do this in a radius, but it's just easier because it's giving me the diameters of these. All right, so I'll go to my circle tool and I'll select diameter, and then again I'm going to type in the center of that, and we said the x was at 1, comma, and the y was at 2.5, and then I'll go ahead and press enter, and then the diameter is 1 inch. All right, so not a bad idea to just verify that before I go on. And again, it wants the diameter, so we'll go ahead and select the diameter, and I'm matching my textbook here, so I'll put it above it to the right. And so the next one, we have 2 concentric circles. I may as well just start the outside one first and then work with the inside, and you'll notice it's at 3 inches on the X, and on the Y, both of them are at 1.5 inches. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go circle, diameter, and on the X, I'll type in 3, comma, and the Y 1.5. And I'll push enter, and then the outside diameter was 2. Go ahead and press enter. And so let's just, before we dimension, we may as well do the other one, and I'll go ahead and type in the center, which we said was 3. I could snap it in there, but it's probably best just to make sure I'm accurate. And then 3.0 is fine, and then I'll put 1.5. Enter. All right, and in this case, we said that the diameter of the center one was 1 inches. And I'll push enter. All right, so let's go ahead and verify this. I'll go diameter for the dimension, and the center one is at 1. That's correct. And I can just push enter, actually, whatever command I was previously working on. If I push enter, it'll repeat it. And so this one, I'll do the bottom, and that's a 2. So that looks pretty good. We do need to verify these dimensions, though, on the X and the Y. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll take this and I'll make this back to the standard linear. And I'll start from the 0, 0, and I'll go to the center, and I'll move that up. Now, the only thing is, if you notice, I actually kind of made an error here. So what I'll do is I'll take this, because it's really going to be important that we have those, I'll scroll in here, those spaces, and I'll explain that to you here. So also on this one, we want to make sure I have a space from that center mark. All right, so there's that. And let's go ahead and do, that's on the X-axis. Let's do the Y. So I'll do that from the bottom. Now I could do it from the top down, but I'm just trying to match what the textbook is doing here. So let's zoom in, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll snap it to the center mark, and there it is. So the other thing is, you'll notice, though, that we have these lines that are extensions. Now, there's different ways to control this. Similar to how I went in and changed the tolerances. So you can make this bigger default, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it because it's okay. And let's go ahead and, but what I will want to do, though, if I'm trying to match what my textbook is doing, now what I can do is I want to keep this same gap here. So I'll take my line tool, and instead of snapping on here, I'll just move it over, and I'm going to just eyeball it. It looks like it's about 0.75, but we'll just eyeball it and then move it over and make sure that it goes beyond the circle. And then I can go ahead and push enter, and I push enter again on my keyboard, and it'll give me the same command. And again, I'm not going to snap it. I'm going to just come down on that polar and then do the same thing, trying to keep them the same. All right, and then let's go ahead and do the same for the other one. So I'll come in here. Let's do the dimension linear, and so we'll do on the x-axis from the 0, 0. It is, and if it, all right, 3 inches, and then we'll do the y. And that's 1.5. And again, let's go ahead in and just clean this up. Now I can change the default settings. I can actually make that happen. It's just probably less time consuming just to do it like this. And again, I'm just going to eyeball it. Now remember, it has to extend beyond the circles. Hit escape, and I'll do the next one. And I'm eyeballing this, and beyond the circle, hit escape. So that looks pretty good. What I want to do, though, before I get too carried away, is just verify, because this is kind of our gold standard here. Let's just make sure that everything looks the same, and it does. Now, you will notice that the line weights, remember about those? We can turn them on, but we need to do all the parts. Now, we don't want to do the dimensions, just the part itself. And it's really important that we differentiate between the part and the dimension lines. Because if I don't, I can very easily get confused, and the person reading the print can get confused. So let's go to line weight, and I'm going to do, and we'll go ahead and do 0.5. Now, one thing we can do, and we'll learn it later on, is I actually can make a layer that automatically, any line I make, if I'm in that layer, will be that weight. But for now, we'll just do it manually. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll save it, and I'll put my name on it, and I've completed the base plate lesson.